Hey everyone, back tuning into this morning's video. It's Monday at GazWeatherViz.com, which can mean only one thing. Yeah, that's right, it's Europe Day. Every Monday at GazWeatherViz.com we have a look at weather for the coming week across the continent, and today no exception. We're going to have a look at the charts from the fantastic German website, weathercentral.de. You can find it on my links page, or you can find the link to Weather Central on my links page. We're going to have a look at the charts and see what weather's going to be doing across Europe this week. It's a bit cooler in the west and it's hotter in the east. Things will switch around again later in the week. It'll turn hotter in the west and cooler in the east, and generally this is the pattern we're in at the moment, with hot pulses pushing into the west and then being pushed east by the Atlantic. It cools off for a bit in the west and then it turns hotter again. The whole process repeats itself. Before I get on with the video though, I just want to talk about the advertising. There's green keyword ads on the web pages at GazWeatherViz.com. If you roll your cursor over the green keywords, they'll display ads, but if you click through the word, you'll go to the advertised website, and by doing that you'll be supporting GazWeatherViz.com. Thanks very much for doing it. So let's start off with today's pressure setup across the continent, and the main thing is that we pushed the heat that was in central western areas over the weekend off into the east of Europe. So the heat is all over here with this thundery area of low pressure sitting across the east and down into the central Mediterranean. The Azores high is trying to ridge in from the Atlantic already into the southwest, and this is already the beginning of the process of turning hotter in the west again. But up to the northwest is actually a good deal cooler and more unsettled for much of Ireland, Britain, and that's just edging in towards Scandinavia as well. The upper air temperatures show it very nicely where the heat has gone that was in the west and central parts of Europe over the weekend. It's now in the east through these east and southeast countries. Very, very hot down towards the Adriatic, in towards the Balkans, and then down in towards Greece and Turkey. Really hot temperatures down there, extending down through central and southern parts of Italy as well. Conversely, it's much cooler up in the northwest, but much of France in towards the British Isles Island has turned cooler and fresher, and that cooler fresh air is trying to push through to Scandinavia as well. Convective potential today is really in the east and down in the southeast. It's associated with the heat and through in central parts of the Mediterranean as well. Italy, Corsica, Sardinia, I think you will be at risk of thunderstorms there. Western parts of the Mediterranean doing very nicely. Spain, Portugal, in towards the Balearic Islands. I don't think we're going to be seeing too much in way of thunderstorms there. And up in the northwest we've actually got some of a risk of some showers or thunderstorms for Britain, the Low Countries, France, Ireland, and through these central countries as well. Sorry, I've just clicked through to the wrong chart. This is where we want to go. We want to go to today's precipitation forecast. We're going to have showers up in the northwest, Britain, Ireland, France, and the Low Countries, in towards northern many parts of Germany, and in towards Denmark as well, and up towards the Baltic Sea, at risk of some heavy thundery showers, maybe some thunderstorms as well. Definitely risk of some thunderstorms through northern and central parts of Italy. Again, they could extend down in towards Corsica and Sardinia and through the Adriatic, possibly threatening the Balkans. But really down in the southwest it's mainly dry, and given the convective potential it is mainly dry in many of these eastern and southeastern countries. You have to say the thunderstorm potential is more centred towards central countries as we record today. Look at the temperatures in the east today. Really, really hot in the east. We're roasting at around 38 to 42, 43 Fahrenheit. That's going up towards 105, 106 Fahrenheit through many of these central countries. Much, much too hot for me. I'm glad I don't live over there. Do take care if you're watching this country, this forecast in those eastern and southeastern countries. It's really, really hot, dangerously hot over there today. Much cooler in central and western parts of the continent. Through the Mediterranean, it's pretty hot, really, about where we should be. Through many of these central and western areas, very, very hot down towards the southeast. Now, as we move through into the middle of the week, the whole process is beginning to repeat itself again. The high pressure is extending in from the Azores into the central countries. We'll be starting to lift the temperatures back up again. This low pressure out to the west is threatening some very heavy and significant rain for parts of Ireland and Britain through the middle of the week, but eventually we're going to start to pull in much hotter winds from the south. So yeah, temperatures are picking up again through much of Spain, Portugal, in towards France, beginning to extend in towards Germany as well. The heat is beginning to reload. Conversely, the temperatures are dropping off from the dangerous levels, hot levels that we've got in the east today. They are dropping off over in the east of Europe through the middle of the week. It is cooler in the northwest, but this hotter air is starting to push in from the south, associated with this low pressure stalling in the Atlantic. Convective potential through the middle of the week, not a lot actually, there's not too much, particularly centre parts around France and through central parts of the Mediterranean, maybe some up over Scandinavia as well. Very wet there through Ireland and Britain through the middle of the week. Some really heavy rain being associated with that low pressure that's stalling in the Atlantic, and it's behind that the hotter air is beginning to push up. But nevertheless, Tuesday and Wednesday could be really quite unsettled and wet for many parts of Ireland and Britain. Some thunderstorms possible for Scandinavia, extending down in towards Denmark. Maybe a few showers or storms for northern Germany and the Low Countries. But really, many parts of the continent will actually be dry and hot and sunny through the middle of the week. Just some storm perhaps kicking off around the Black Sea, but not much really going on. Through the temperatures through the middle of the week, they're going to be lifting up again through many western and central parts of the continent. Hotter air beginning to extend back in towards Britain as well. Very, very hot again down in the south of France, potentially. You can't see it, but going down in towards Spain and Portugal, temperatures will be lifting back up to the high 30s into the hundreds Fahrenheit once again. Temperatures have dropped though in the east, still hot, still temperatures up to around 32, 33, but certainly lower from the dangerous heat that we've got going on in the east today. And then it's all repeating itself, as I said, as we're going towards Friday. The heat is pushing increasingly into central eastern parts of the country. The continent, the trough of low pressure out to West of Ireland is trying to push cooler and fresher air. It's almost an identical pattern to the one we had at the end of last week and going into the weekend. So there's very high temperatures again extending through many central parts of the continent at the end of the week. Really hot temperatures extending through Spain in towards France. Talking about 25 Celsius isotherm there for some parts of France. Dangerously hot across many parts of France. Once again, that heat extends up in towards central parts of the continent as well, and pushing further and further east with time. Cooler and fresher air is trying to come back in towards Scotland and Northern Ireland, but eastern parts of England actually still quite hot at the end of the week. Convective potential at the end of the week, well obviously it's going to be in the north and the west, associated with that trough of low pressure, trying to bring the cooler, fresher air in off the Atlantic, hitting that very hot air, extending through those central countries of the continent. The precipitation forecast, rainfall forecast showing that it's really in the northwest. We've got thunderstorms potentially for Ireland and for Britain, and extending over the North Sea in towards the north of France, in towards the Low Countries, and eventually extending on in towards Germany as well. Although actually on Friday this is showing many countries to be dry, sunny and hot away from the northwest. Look at these temperatures again as we go through to the end of the week, easily getting up towards mid-high 30s Celsius through much of Spain, Portugal, France, into Germany. The Low Countries, temperatures are going to be knocking on the door of 35, 36 widely. That's up into the mid-90s Fahrenheit. Some places will again reach 38, 39 or 40. That's going over the 100 Fahrenheit mark. Very, very hot for many parts of the continent. Heat does extend in towards eastern parts of the British Isles, as I say, but it is turning cooler and fresher behind that thundery breakdown as that cooler, fresher air tries to push in off the Atlantic. There's a lot of uncertainty though going through to the end of the week and next weekend. The ECMWF wants to maintain the heat for many western countries of Europe into next weekend and develop an explosive thundery area of low pressure. I'm not sure if it will come off quite like that, but certainly it looks as though it is going to be turning very hot again for many central and western parts of Europe later on this week into the weekend. The heat is in the east today. It'll cool off there through the middle and latter stages of the week as the heat reloads in central and western countries, and generally this is the idea for the week. Heat waves or waves of heat pushing from west to east with thundery breakdowns pushing that heat further and further eastwards with time. Then the whole thing reloads and the heat pushes in once again. Very interesting weather patterns. Enjoy the weekend. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.